Hello my fellow full of the samurai players, Zaript here, with the match of semifinals of Quick and Dead tournament between PrussianPrince and PointMan on a Ganma field. And this game was played in a recent patch, so we will see how our players took the challenge of changing their builds to suit new reality of Fall of the Samurai. Now, well, for PrussianPrince, this seems like a build he used against the Riskin with some changes. Line heavy build, he have 3 Marines, so it makes sense in this best of 1 scenario of Flash tournament. Very strong front, no melee cavalry at all, 4 spear levies, 4 red bears if I remember correctly. Yes, it is. And 2 black tortoise forces. His general is full command gen, and a nice addition, which he didn't have in a game against the Riskin, is this Imperial Guard cavalry. Nice touch, which gives him some mobility and allows to deal with enemies melee cav and get back into the safety of this stable infantry contingent. Now for PointMan, and PointMan is probably one of the players who didn't get hit hard by this new patch, just because he always used infantry heavy compositions, which is a very interesting in an era of cavalry heavy builds. And this time his approach is very interesting as well as usual. Let's start with his core. It's 3 Shogitais level 6, United States Marines, 4 Spear Levy as a mid shield, and now, instead of having any melee cavalry at all, he abandoned that idea and used 4 Kyoto Police Force, 2 on this flank and 2 on this flank. To deal with opponent's melee cavalry, if such an exists, he have 2 Imperial Guard cavalries of his own, and Bushido Gen with gun enabled. So he can defend himself against melee cavalry, and if his opponent doesn't want to attack, he has something to skirmish with that melee cavalry and seize the map control from his opponent. I should say I like this build a lot, but on this map, which is quite flat, I would give a small build advantage to a PrussianPrince, just because he has so much firepower, and if he puts his lines in the waves, as he do, and controls it engagement well enough, he should have an advantage. And you see, he already uses naval bombardment to push PointMan away from the middle of the map, and that should give dojo control to PrussianPrince. And dodges are shrine here and workshop here. Kyoto Police of PointMan have nothing to force PrussianPrince away from the dodges. So we will see how PointMan deals with this. And it's not easy for him to rush because of the lack of melee cavalry. He cannot stop retreating light of PrussianPrince. And he does the thing you should always do when you have mobility advantage, because PointMan certainly have some sort of mobility advantage. He puts forces around his opponent. He have 2 Kyoto Police on that flank, 2 here. He have his Imperial Guard cavalry basically on the rear of PrussianPrince. So, and the main force in the middle. So PrussianPrince have to face his units on different directions, which makes his frontal shooting power weaker. And now PointMan seeking for an opening to get some shots. I'm not sure if he will find it. And it's much easier for PrussianPrince because PointMan only have the United States Marines as his line contingent. So I think Prussian Prince can easily find something to shoot at. Okay, and here a little miss micro on PointMan part. He's losing 8 men already. Not a good start. Here I think Prussian Prince could have been much more aggressive on this flank. He's wasting his time. He got all dodges, but I think he could easily push these 2 units. And here, this Imperial Guard Cavalry, yeah, this is a weakness. You see, now that PointMan got his Imperial Guard Cavalry on the back, he needed to force Prussian Prince to face other way from his front, but that means that PointMan's flanking force much weaker now. He have nothing to support this Kyoto Police force, so he doesn't think much, he doesn't wait long before his Kyoto Police force routes. He just started his rush on this flank, and angle is quite good actually. Look at this. Let's take a look. Prussian Prince still manages his far away flank, and which moves his attention away from this flank. And you see, he didn't turn his red bears. So now his red bears got catched, and at the same time, PointMan started his melee rush, his full-fledged attack. His United States Marines took some casualties, and now you see when attacks come from all the sides, it's a little bit difficult for Prussian Prince to manage it at the same time, especially considering that here he got caught. Let's see the orders Prussian Prince gives, because we can see it. And because of this forest, you see, PointMan actually reallocated his rush from this middle to here just to rush through the forest, because it saves him a lot of lives of his Shogun. Look at this. 2 of them are no losses basically. And at the same time, this flank is basically collapsed. And you see, this is the thing PointMan does very well. He knows the moment when his Imperial Guard Cavalry would be more efficient in the melee, then instead of shooting, he just charges them in melee. Because what he needs right now is to stop his opponent from retreating. He doesn't need a killing power of this Imperial Guard Cavalry, and this is what makes this unit so strong, and this is why it had to be nerfed, and can actually be even more expensive. It's good in melee as well as in shooting, so it's kind of very good hybrid unit with morale aura and a good base morale. So, and to be honest, this attack is a little bit desperate on PointMan's side, just because he gave up both dodges and he had to start an attack on this flank just because his units were shooting and he had nothing to deal with this Imperial Guard Cavalry. But now look how beautifully he does it. He tangles up this infantry de marine in fight and immediately disengage his Imperial Guard Cavalry, because he have to stop these red bees from shooting as well. So never he doesn't forget how easy it is to actually destroy melee rush if you don't stop your opponent from kiting. And here, huge blunder on Prussian Prince sides. He overestimated his shooting power. He didn't plan to kite a lot, so he put his general in a stand and fight, and now his general is going to die. And you see, he doesn't really kite here, and at this point it still seems like he have enough line actually. You see, it looks like he have enough power to shoot, but if you look at what is happening, all of his line units are moving at the same time. The only line unit that can shoot is 1, and 2. These 2 red bees. All other units are either on melee or on the move.
Sir, your general has sustained a terrible injury.
And now he's losing his general, which is a huge hit. Still doesn't look very good for PointMan. His Shugita is depleted, but the thing is, they are in the forest. And Prussian Prince kind of have his contingent split in 2 parts, and his forces cannot help each other. And Prussian Prince couldn't save his Imperial Guard cavalry. He couldn't get rid of PointMan's Imperial Guard cavalry. Just imagine if Prussian Prince just and I think I maybe mispronounce the names. I apologize if that happened because I'm PointMan, Prussian Prince, PointMan, Prussian Prince. I may be mistaken at some point. But the thing is, if Prussian Prince did get rid of this Imperial Guard cavalry of PointMan, but saved his own and his own general, he could have kited this melee rush to the death. And right now it's not that interesting what is happening on the field, because you can see that Prussian Prince is losing this game slowly but surely. And we will look at the final stats, because I want to see how this Kyoto Police Force did. And you see how this morale advantage of spear levies played for them. They survived, they stood in the fight much longer. And I like the idea how PointMan makes up for more expensive Shugitai by using cheaper spears and actually giving up on the melee cavalry. Sometimes it might be good on some maps, not always, but as we can see this time it worked well. Couple of mistakes on the Prussian Prince. I think he was a little bit too passive on his left flank. He certainly did mismicro his general, and kinda. I don't think that lack of kiting was a huge mistake. It was just he misread the situation. He wasn't actually planning to kite, from what I can tell. He probably thought that he have enough line to shoot down that melee rush, but you see all these maneuvers of PointMan, making one line unit facing backwards, making other unit face on the right, making some units face to the left. It's kinda, it seems small, but at the important moment it comes. Prussian Prince actually didn't have enough firepower on the front, which is the most important lesson you can get from this game. Even on a flat map, you can actually rush if you can rush from different directions. But rushing from only from a front might be a little bit scary. And okay, I'm losing track of my thoughts slowly, because this was a quite tiring weekend for me, but doesn't really matter. So, quite a similar builds, manpower-wise. PointMan got surprisingly less men than Prussian Prince, but that is because Prussian Prince got one less Imperial Guard cavalry. And PointMan was 250 men more effective. We will see. So it's actually seems like quite a close game, in fact. If Prussian Prince didn't lose his general, this might have turned other way. Look how close this is, and Prussian Prince got a lot of his forces routed earlier just because of that general death. Well, this game does not forgive you mistakes, and PointMan isn't a player who will forgive you such a mistake as well. Yeah. Cool game. I can't concentrate on final stats just because I'm watching this replay for a 5th time already, and still, it still looks good. This is what I always liked about PointMan, is how he makes these infantry-heavy rushes work. It's kind of his dedication to his huge manpower idea is something like dedication of Twitchy to his melee rushes, and it works. Wow! I just like how he does it, and I hope to see more in the future. And I should say I'm surprised by how his Kyoto Police, by effectiveness. Oh, man, oh, this is awful. By effectiveness of this Kyoto Police force, look at this. 160 kills, 150 kills. And it's not necessary that they paid for themselves, because a lot of these kills are spear levies and black tortoise forces. But still that, compared to spear levy, even so they more expensive, but they much better against cavalry, and because of 7 morale, they make for a decent flanking unit. They certainly worth looking at. Maybe you don't need kinda, instead of 2 police forces on the right and 2 police forces on the left. Personally, I would use Kyoto Police Force and Red Bear, for example. But that's me. I like more tools in my disposal, but this works well in the end. Both Imperial Guard cavalries did pretty well, and a lot of these kills are done in melee. They were so when PointMan saw that Prussian Prince doesn't actually have melee cavalry, he used his Imperial Guard cavalry as a stopping force, and this is as I told already, this is a very good hybrid unit with a good morale, with a good melee stats, and with a good shooting stats. Very flexible. So taking 2 is a good decision, and it just worked so well. And level 6 Shogitais probably weren't that necessary, but it still worked okay. United States Marines, well, PointMan certainly mismicroed them a little bit, so they didn't do much damage. And even mid-shielded spear levies get their share of kills. And Prussian Prince was partly right. You see, his firepower showed itself, but he kinda, you see, he turned his infantry de marine backwards to face Imperial Guard cavalry of a PointMan. So it certainly was a waste, you know. He should have all of his marines should have faced Shogitais, and he could have Prussian Prince could have easily used Black Tortoise Force or Red Bears to face backwards. But well, that would be a lesson to all of us, and that's certainly something to try out. I think this PointMan's approach is certainly worth looking at, because I don't like the idea of, personally I don't like the idea of line builds dominating the playfield, and a lot of players who I talk with last days after patch talk about how strong a line did become, kinda everyone line spamming, and I don't want the game to become a line game. I want this game to still be a balanced builds game, so I hope something between PointMan and Prussian Prince approach would work. Okay then. Enough talking about unnecessary things, and I will see you later. See you.